What are your thoughts on this passage from Gary Taubes, author of Case for Keto, another passage from him? When I started reporting on this subject as a journalist 20 years ago, virtually no meaningful research had been published to test the claims of the diet book doctors, most famously Robert Atkins, who advocated this way of eating. Since then, carbohydrate-restricted diets, keto or otherwise, may have become the most tested diets in history. The website clinicaltrials.gov reports more than 100 clinical trials of ketogenic diets in progress and nearly 90 completed. The findings are consistent. Ketogenic eating is safe and effective at controlling both weight and blood sugar. Pick a disease from Alzheimer's and anxiety disorders to traumatic brain injury and tumors, and researchers everywhere are probably testing whether eating a ketogenic diet improves its prognosis. In 2019, the American Diabetes Association concluded that low carbohydrate and very low carbohydrate diets, that is keto, were the only dietary therapies that consistently resulted in beneficial outcomes for adults with diabetes or prediabetes. In 2017, more than 100 Canadian physicians co-signed a letter to the Huffington Post declaring that they personally follow keto-like regimens and now counsel their patients to do so too. What we see in our clinics, these physicians wrote, is that blood sugar values go down, blood pressure drops, chronic pain decreases or disappears, lipid profiles improve, inflammatory markers improve, energy increases, weight decreases, sleep is improved, IBS or irritable bowel syndrome symptoms are lessened, etc. Medication is adjusted downward or even eliminated, which reduces the side effects for patients and the costs to society. The results we achieve with our patients are impressive and durable. What are your thoughts on that passage from Gary Taubes?
Oh my God. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. That's utter nonsense. The studies on the impact of keto diets, and again, for everybody listening to this, don't take my word for it. Google health impacts, long-term health impacts of low-carb ketogenic diets. They increase inflammation. They accelerate aging and so forth. And you know, he keeps coming back to this, the impact that they allegedly have on diabetes. Number one, I'd like to see whatever studies he's referring to, because high-fat diets worsen insulin control because fat interferes with the function of insulin. It literally, fat gets inside the cell and blocks the insulin signaling pathways so that insulin can't even do its job. So the more fat you're eating, excuse me, the harder it is to control your blood sugar. Now, if you couple that with trying to eat no carbs, then you know that may somewhat offset the negative impact the fat is having on insulin metabolism. But again, that is a really backwards way of doing this, because while you may have a somewhat beneficial effect on blood sugar levels, and again, I'm saying may, the fact is that you are markedly increasing disease risk in a number of other ways. And, you know, he keeps, again, talking about weight loss. Heck, one of the best ways to lose weight is to become a meth addict. But I wouldn't recommend that to anybody, because there are a whole host of other issues associated with that. So, again, it is just illegitimate, ill-advised, and reckless to simply pick, you know, 2 or 3 biological issues and say, oh, well, this is good for that, so therefore let's all do that. No, you've got to look at the global picture of what a particular dietary pattern or way of eating has on all of our health parameters to know if it's something that we should be doing. And again, it's just totally bizarre and perverse to me that people are going through all of these machinations and shenanigans to eat a diet comprised of fat and dead flesh when our bodies clearly aren't designed to do that. And that the much better way of treating diabetes and other health problems, again, is nothing has been shown to be comparable to a whole food plant-based diet when it comes to reducing disease risk, controlling diabetes, and so forth. And again, find it also interesting that he talked about doctors writing to Huffington Post and not an article that was published in a journal. I don't know who those doctors were. I don't know who they were paid by. I don't even know if they exist. They may be like the mythical unicorn, something everybody talks about, but nobody has seen. But that is not the way to practice medicine. And that is certainly not the way to treat diabetes if you want your patients to be healthy and live a long life.
What are your thoughts on this passage from Gary Taubes, the author of The Case for Keto? No meaningful experimental evidence, no clinical trials exist to support the contention that we would live longer, healthier lives by eating mostly plants rather than animal-sourced foods.
Oh my gosh, that's a carefully worded statement, and it's again, his premise is false. Let me say this to you: there are no clinical trials that show that jumping off a 10-story building without a parachute results in death. But we've got a lot of anecdotal evidence. Okay, we got a lot of observational evidence, and the thing, and again, no, he uses these specific terms, clinical trials, because you're talking about trying to do a trial looking at a dietary pattern versus another dietary pattern. You can't do that with clinical trials because you can't get, 10,000 people in a lab where you feed them every day and watch everything they eat versus 10,000 people in another lab eating another way. The way you do that is you do case-controlled cohort studies, observational studies, where you look at populations who eat a certain way and compare them to age-matched controls who eat differently, and you see how they do relative to their health, longevity, disease risk, and so forth. And there are thousands of studies that have done that, and they have consistently shown that the plant-based eating pattern reduces disease risk, reduces all-cause mortality, and reduces the risk for dementia, and increases longevity. One of the most important of these types of scientific investigation were the Blue Zone studies that went around the world and identified populations who were long-lived, had the least number of chronic ailments as they aged, and the lowest risk for dementia. And the pattern that emerged, and it was consistent around the planet, was that the more plant-based a population was, the longer they lived, the lower their disease risk, the lower their risk for dementia. The longest lived population in that Blue Zone data are Seventh-day Adventists, vegetarians, and vegans living in Southern California, because they are the ones who've adopted an entirely plant-based diet. So again, this man is cherry picking his information and presenting it, in a way that appears to support what he wants to say, but it is complete BS. And anyone who's watched RuPaul Drag Show knows that you can take a man and make him look like a woman, but he's not a woman. And that shouldn't be interpreted as any kind of a knock on people who are transgender or even transvestites. I am simply saying that by careful manipulation of the way you present something, you can make it look like something it is not. And that is what he's doing there. But that when you examine it closely, when you peel off the makeup and everything, it is utter nonsense. And that we have, again, just I can't even call it a mountain, just a mountain range of data showing that the plant-based lifestyle is the one that is associated with the best health, greatest longevity, lowest risk for disease and dementia, period. And anyone who says anything else needs more fiber in their diet.